Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm loving life really here on YouTube. I am a reseller on multiple platforms and we're doing another one of those interviews, you guys. I had an interview that I did a couple weeks ago, but something happened to my laptop and it got erased. So I do apologize for that. I am going to try and reschedule with her at a later time, but right now she's just completely swamped. So hopefully down the road we will be able to do another interview with her and get that going for you guys. But today, you guys, we have a wonderful interview. I am so enjoying doing these, y'all. I'm getting so much, enjoying connecting with other resellers, figuring out how they got started, asking them questions about how they got started. Everybody has such a great, unique story, and every one of these interviews is going to be fun and unique of their own. This gal was requested by a couple people on here, so if you requested her, here you go, you guys. Enjoy. We'll be back in a minute.
Okay.
There, can you hear me okay? Okay,
Yep, I hear you
perfect.
good.
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. I've done one of these already and it was amazing. I enjoyed it so much. Okay. I'm going to turn the volume up a little bit so we can hear you better. And I'm just going to double check and make sure we're good over here. Yep, it is recording. We should be good to go. All right. All right, my dear. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Well, my name is Amanda Pruitt. I am in Orlando, Florida. Let's see, I have three kids and they're all at school right now. We are kind of in that middle season where I don't have babies or toddlers, but my kids are 8, 10, and 12. So it's kind of that we're turning into hormones in middle school and, the mom taxi and dance and scouts. And so just super busy. And so thankfully I have reselling to kind of work when I have
Right,
time.
right. My husband are empty nesters of 6. So
Oh
I do
gosh.
understand our youngest just turned 22 and our oldest is 31. So lots and lots of activity, running around, the mom taxi. Been there, done that.
Yep.
But it's such a wonderful stage in life, and I enjoyed every single minute of it, and I'm sure you are too. I've watched a lot of your videos, and yeah, when you enjoy being a mom, it shows, and it definitely shows in you. So
Oh,
very much
thank
so.
you.
So the first question I will always start the video off with that people are always wanting to know is, how did you get started?
So I grew up here in Orlando, and from a very young age, my mom was always very thrifty. So we didn't have like buy sell trade stores and not even a lot of thrift stores, but we were like Bell's Outlet, Florida kind of stores, always on the clearance. And so she was a teacher and always said, okay, so you have $100 to spend today for back to school. You can get 5 shirts over here, or you can get 10 over here on the clearance rack. And she would always make me do the math of, okay, well, if this is 75% off. So I kind of grew up with a clearance, never pay full price mentality in terms of clothing. So that was kind of my upbringing. And then when I got to college, I got there on scholarships. My mom was a teacher, they didn't have a lot of money to send me. So I had a lot of scholarships, but I still needed like spending money. So I started reselling my textbooks on
Oh,
eBay.
wow.
So way back when like actual textbooks were a thing. So this was 2003, 2004. But yeah, like people, you had to have certain textbooks and they didn't change them every year. Like now everything's digital, but I would go to local thrift stores I found. I went to Florida State University. And so I would find them at thrift stores and look them up. I had to wait till I get home because I didn't have a
Right.
cell phone with internet and would, oh, I can resell these. And so I'd go back to the store because, anyway. And so that's kind of how I got started. And then I joined a sorority and we had to buy clothing. And so we had a store there. It wasn't like a Plato's, but it was more like an upscale Goodwill. And I started finding some of these brands that I'd never heard of because I wasn't super trendy. I remember I had to pay like $150 for a pair of 7 for All Mankind jeans, which I still own all these years later, but I was finding them at the thrift store. And so I started selling clothing on eBay also. So I really got my start on eBay way back then, and I wasn't making a ton of money, but by the time I graduated college, I probably had like 400 sales under my belt. And so eBay to me was a lot easier back then. So that's kind of how I got started in reselling. And then fast forward to having babies and I really didn't know much about the reselling world after all that time. But then my daughters got into mini Melissas, which are these really adorable little shoes that are like $70 to $80. They have Disney ones. They smell like strawberries and bubble gum. And anyway, they're quite expensive, but I started finding them and buying them on Kidizen and Poshmark. And so enter 2018, and I really kind of jumped back into reselling, started mostly with only kids items because I had 3 at the time. And so my kids started wearing clothes for basically free because I would go to the buy sell trade store and do trading and pick out stuff that I knew would sell. And that's how I started learning all the kids brands. So that was back in 2018. And so now here we are. I've had a lot of different jobs along the way. I don't want to answer any of your other questions, but now I'm just now getting back into eBay. I kind of stepped away from it for all these years, other than thankfully making a few purchases. And so I never lost my account.
Yeah.
So I still had like almost 500 sales, even though I hadn't sold anything in over a decade. And I didn't know that it would still be there. Thank goodness. So I know a lot of times new sellers struggle with like scammers and all of that, but thankfully I didn't have that.
Oh my gosh,
So
I dealt
that's
with
kind
that.
of,
I actually have 2 accounts on eBay. One that I opened up when I first started, but I was getting scammed so bad that every time I thought I made a sale, it ended up being a scam. And I was kind of scammed on Poshmark too, but eBay was bad. I mean, like 20, 30 scams within a few months. It was so
Wow.
bad. So I contacted eBay. I said, what is going on here? Is my account actually legit? Is it me? What's going on? And they said, it's not you. This is actually very typical for starting out in eBay now. You just have to get through the phase of building up your business. And now I really don't have that issue at all anymore. It's just on Poshmark. I don't know what is about Poshmark lately,
oh,
but I've been getting scammed on Poshmark so much lately. People say, oh, send me a this and this on Poshmark.
oh yeah. I get those at
Yeah,
least
I was
once a
doing
day,
a live and we
probably.
talked about that because there's a lot of new poshers. I do sell together on Poshmark lives, and there's a lot of new resellers coming on Poshmark, and they have no clue what that is, and they're like, do not trust it. So yeah,
Yeah.
but so now I've been noticing that quite a few people who started out 20 years ago, like yourself, started out on eBay, but they transitioned to Poshmark. So what
Yeah.
made you want to just stay with Poshmark for the majority of it once you jumped back into it? Since eBay was so easy.
So right now, I would say out of all, I sell on Kidizen, Poshmark, Mercari, and eBay. That's it. And I would say Poshmark is hands down my most favorite. I know we had a rough start to January. It picked up in the last week, but I also wasn't listing as much. But I feel like for newbies and for just in general, Poshmark is 100% the easiest. It's easiest to cross list to. I get all of my free shipping supplies from USPS delivered to my front door, and my mailman picks up my packages out of, you literally go into your email, print. I mean, you can't mess it up. Even when I go on vacation, I have had friends do my shipping for me. I turn off all my other apps except Poshmark because literally print, stick your label on, good to go. So yes, it has the most fees, but I price my items higher to
Right.
account for my VA sending
Right.
fees. So honestly, like I know it has its flaws. I do not do live selling. I never will do live selling, but Poshmark is still my jam.
Yeah. So now you have plugged into Kidizen. I know I've tried Kidizen myself, but because of what I sell, it just wasn't what worked well for my business model, but it works well for you. Now, I know you sell a lot of kids' clothes on Kidizen, but do you also sell a lot of women's clothes, or is it mainly kids?
So you can only do women's, kids, women's accessories, basically anything that's not home goods or men's. I'm just looking. So let's see. My last 3 sales were kids items. Before that was a women's pair of leggings, kids. I mean, it's mostly kids items. Every now and then I'll sell some women's, but the women's are the brands like Kicky Pants, which is known as a kids brand. I'll sell like a mommy match,
Right.
or I'll sell a brand that, because Kidizen is definitely its own world in the sense of I'm in a group chat of fellow Kidizen friends that I made back in 2018. I used to do a lot of share groups, which is similar to sharing on Poshmark, but like it's definitely a much smaller community, and I meet people all the time that have never heard of it. So they don't spend the money on advertising that I feel they should. So it's definitely, I have friends that sell full time only on Kidizen, but they're what's called style scouts, and that's something new the app did. And let's say you live in Phoenix and there's not already one there. I'm sure there is, but you can contact Kidizen and turn your account into basically a consigner account. And you send your items to the consigner, and you go meet up with them. It's you live wherever you're a scout for, and then Kidizen does the back end, whatever you determine, 60/40,
Sure.
whatever your cut is. They can pull their money out, you pull your money out. So the friends that I have that are selling full time on Kidizen are doing that in addition to like what we're doing, sourcing our own items. So Kidizen, but I feel like you can be very successful there if you're picking up the right brands. You don't have to do all this sharing, because I kind of quit doing all of that. I was spending more time talking to my friends and buying from share groups than I was making sales, but you have to list daily. But I feel like that's kind of true on every platform, but as long as you're actively listing,
Right.
I keep making sales there.
Would you say, now obviously with Poshmark fee being 20% for kids clothes, I know I've sold a couple kids pieces on Poshmark, but because the fee's so high, and typically kids clothes, the majority of kids clothes, unless you have the higher end brands, are going to sell for less than $15. So you automatically have $3 going out the door, right? So would you recommend if somebody wants to jump into kids clothes that they try Kidizen first, or try Poshmark too, or?
So when I first got back into reselling, it wasn't on Poshmark. It was just Kidizen. And then I expanded to Kidizen and Mercari. And because in my mind, like you, I'm like, there's no way people are going to pay those shipping fees. But I wasn't trying. Well, then all of a sudden, I think it like around 2020, I'm like, you know what? I need to just cross list all of my stuff. And I was shocked by the amount of people that were willing to pay the shipping, because I have to remember, I'm in Orlando. I literally have anything within a 10-mile or 10-minute drive. There are people that live in the middle of nowhere that maybe like Carter's, and they don't have even a Walmart. So they're willing to pay that shipping. And for me, I use a VA, and so I'm always offering that discounted shipping. So the shipping ends up being $5.95 for, I would say, 75% of my sales come from offer to likers. And so they're paying less shipping there than Mercari right now for a 16-ounce label is $7. So it used to be that the priority now, Poshmark labels are as expensive as first class.
Yeah.
No, I would say if anyone's starting out, even with kids' clothes, I would say to go directly to Poshmark and make Kidizen be your, let me cross list there also, just because of the sheer number of people that are going to see your items. Like I just pulled up my sales on Posh just to see. Like I sold 2 Lily Pulitzer rompers the other day, play condition. I mean, they were beat up so bad that Once Upon a Child wouldn't even have bought them, and they paid $22 for them. So
wow.
Like on Posh.
Nice.
So, people, $20 for some little kids' pajamas, plus shipping, $8 for a little book. I mean, people, like, this, I sold a pair of shoes, $20, so I made 16. They were a toddler size 5, a random brand. So it surprised me, and I remember telling my husband every time I made a sale, oh my gosh, somebody paid $10, and they also paid $8 shipping for this stupid item. But there's a buyer out there for everything, for sure.
Yeah. Now, since we're talking about great sales, I mean, I know you sell women's as well. Do you find that you sell more kids than women's, or is it kind of equal?
I would say now I'm selling more women's just because that's what I'm sourcing, and especially last year, a lot of my inventory came from ThreadUp, which I do buy the kids' ThreadUp boxes, but kids' clothing, I'm pretty picky with what I'm listing now. Like, I'd rather go to Once Upon a Child like I did yesterday. I mean, I had brands like Adidas, like decent brands that, yes, I could sell, but I took a whole tote of 29 items. They bought 28 of those, and I came home with cash in my hand, plus a Patagonia a snowsuit. I don't know, we don't use those. A bib thing.
See, you guys don't use those, but where I live, man, snowsuits are a mandatory.
Well, so they had it priced at $16, and I got 15% off.
Nice.
Because when we find that kind of stuff, it's because someone took it on vacation.
Right,
so
right.
I not waste my time with all of those things and list that one great kids piece. So I definitely am using more women's these days.
Okay. So now you have, I've been watching you for a while, Things have changed a little bit for you, though, as far as the way you're sourcing because of ThreadUp. Now, I've
Yeah.
noticed that. You're doing more of the bins than ThreadUp boxes, correct? Correct me if
Yes.
I'm incorrect.
No, that's true. That's
So
true.
your strategy, so tell us compared to last year, your strategy and your cog is a little bit different, would you say? Tell us what's changed in the last 6 months for you, because I know quite a bit has changed.
So even like 1 year ago, I mean, my gosh, my favorite thing to do is go to the thrift stores. I live. I can get to two different Goodwill locations in about 11 minutes. But in the last 2 years, I have watched our, let's say, shoes, a random pair of shoes go from $4.99 to $6.99 to $14.99, and now I would say that most of our shoes in Goodwill are $20. I mean,
Oh my
it's
gosh.
absurd.
Oh my
I've
gosh.
also watched kids items, which if you're not finding the mini Bowden, the Hannah Anderson, just a regular old kids items, they were $1.49 for years. Now they're up to $4.99. So we do not have the prices of other YouTubers I see that maybe live in the middle of the country. Our Goodwill prices skyrocketed. So when I started noticing that, that's when I started sourcing more on ThreadUp, and I was having fabulous success because of their partner kits. So I would order all these bulk boxes and then turn around and send all the what I consider junk, like Land's End and Gloria Vanderbilt. ThreadUp used to love that. The junk that like not really junk, but stuff that's not you're not going to sell it on Poshmark.
Right.
And I would send them 30 pound is the max you could send them at a time. In these partner kits, I was making $200 to $300 in Gap gift cards because it was upfront payout. You didn't have to wait for anything to sell, and I was using those to buy all my kids' school clothes or the next season clothes. I mean, I was making hundreds of dollars. Well, then they stopped upfront payouts, partner kits, and so that very quickly changed my strategy because what am I going to do with all this extra crap? So I found myself just giving it away until we have a lot of local charities, a lot of the high schools take career wear for interviews and all of that, which that's great, but that wasn't making me any extra money. So they also implemented $9.99 shipping, even if you are what they consider a VIP. The inventory started being not as good. Like right now, I became a ThreadUp ambassador, which basically anyone can apply. You get a
Yeah.
$25 free credit. I applied like 97 times over the last 4 years. They finally let me be one after all these changes, and right now I have $75 credit. I'm just letting it add up until I have enough to buy a kids box because
Yeah.
I don't even want to spend money with them. I don't. I did send another partner kit in December just to let's see how it's going. Even though it is going to be not upfront payout, I take the time to look up every brand that I sent. I want to make sure it's a brand they accept. So it was literally no different than what I would have sent them a year ago. And I don't know if you've sold the ThreadUp, but they send you an email and tell
I
you that they
have.
sent.
Yeah.
Okay,
I've actually got a few kids going through them right now.
so I was averaging 88 to 95% acceptance rate in my partner kits, which is pretty great, right? Like I kind of had honed in on what they were going to take from me. The box that I sent them in December, packed full, 30 pounds, same exact kind of items I've always sent them. Did Gap again, like I've always done. They took one item and I made $3.
Oh
And
my
I had to
goodness.
wait 2 whole months to get my $3. So I just have kind of put a whole halt on ThreadUp. I do have a fun box hanging around. I mean, I've got some still just in my deck pile. But I've also realized last year I live 19 minutes exactly between the two Orlando Bins locations. So to answer your question, we have completely pivoted, and I would say my average cost of goods with ThreadUp was under $5. If I took into account exactly what I was selling, not the total box. And now my cost of goods is under $1.
Nice.
So yeah, like
Yeah.
actually when I'm done with you, I'm about to film a bins haul, and every time I pull in my driveway, I'm like, why do I even bother going to regular thrift stores? Why do I source anywhere else? I mean, it is a full-time job though. I spent 7 hours at the bins the other day, but if I want to treat this like a job and get paid like a job, I'm going to have to do things like that in order to see more of a return. So
Yeah. And I've noticed that on my YouTube channel, I'm not doing them right now. I'm doing these interviews now, but we were doing a reseller chat on a weekly basis, and one of the topics of conversation was the skyrocketing prices. For me, my prices haven't gone up as much as most people, but it's 45 minutes minimum to a basic thrift store for me. And the rest of them are anywhere from like an hour to an hour and a half away. A Bin's is the next state over. I do not have a close Bin's anywhere. I mean, it's hours, a couple of them 2 or 3 days away from me. So do not have access to, and I live in South Dakota. My biggest major city is Sioux Falls, but when you live in a small state surrounding small towns, you are not going to find quality pieces that are going to sell for a good price. You're finding, mall brands that you're going to pick up for like maybe $3 or $4, but you're going to lucky if it sells for 15. So what's the point in traveling all that time, the gas and the time, to pick up those types of pieces when you can source online? But the other issue that we're running into is companies who are doing online sourcing have jacked up their prices. Helpsy Source is one of them. It's been a thread for some people in my YouTube channel. Their pricing used to be really good. Their products used to be really good. Their new tags items you could get maybe like Madewell for $10. They doubled the price on the Madewell. They're now over $20 for Madewell, brand new with tags. Who can afford that? That's not a good comp, right? So I know a lot of people are now switching to sourcing at the bins, which is exactly what you're doing. For me, I don't have the bins, so I've had to get creative, and I've put feelers out to people. I know I reached out to you, and a lot of other people. Are you open to sourcing for me? So I've actually got a couple people right now who source at the bins for me, and we've agreed on a certain percentage, and they ship out to me, and I've been getting great pieces that are selling and sending to me, including men's pieces. So a lot of people have had to tweak and change how they source this year because sourcing just went nuts. Goodwill stores and online sourcing. So now you found a great niche for yourself with the bins. What is your main category that you source for? Have you stayed with just kids and women's? Do you do men's as well? Tell me how you're kind of going that direction.
So I also want to say it's not just the bins. I forgot this part, but buy sell trading is kind of my like favorite, and so my goal now, anytime I go to the bins, is to pick up all the kids stuff I can find that's in great condition, because I'm sure you probably don't have a lot of buy sell trade stores if you don't even have thrift stores. But
we do. They're just 45 minutes from me. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, go ahead.
So I have a Once Upon a Child that's literally 9 minutes from the bins, and so it's on the way home for me, and it happens to be like all these locations are franchises, right? And I've got 4 Once Upon a Childs, which is the kids buy sell trade, within 30 minutes, and this particular one, they're always the fastest. That's a complaint I hear, is that it takes them 3 hours to go through my stuff, but my goal is to cut my cost of goods in half, which is already low. Like, for example, I got 46 pounds the other day, and all the kids stuff I sourced, I literally took it straight to Once Upon a Child, and I made $35 in cash. So that already drastically cut my cost of goods for the rest of the things. Now, we're not going to talk about taxes in the government, but as far as they're concerned, I still paid $92, and now I got some grocery money. But I'm sure that the day is coming that they're going to track.
We won't mention Uncle Sam.
Right? So to me, like, I know my friend Kathy over at Ginger Marvin, she's been doing more buy-sell trading also, but doing, like, I could have sourced enough to go to Plato's, but if you followed my Death Pile series, I have enough of my own women's crap to be taking there. So kids stuff is kind of my focus at the bins. It's lightweight, and those buy-sell trade stores will take anything in good condition. It doesn't have to be the high-end brands. They love Walmart and Target. And speaking of Target, though, I had to buy my daughter a little dress to go to a birthday party. I paid $25 for a Target brand little girl's dress. And that's when I was like, well, this is why people are willing to pay some of the prices that we're asking, because that's absurd.
That is absurd.
It wasn't even, it wasn't art class, which is like their higher end. It was a stupid little dress that had a Barbie symbol on it, But when I'm at the bins, I am sourcing all things. I'm always looking for things for my husband, even though he hates when I buy him.
I know. I watch your videos. He's like, okay, whatever.
But he secretly appreciates it.
I'm sure he does.
I got a pair of brand new On Clouds one time, and those are his favorite shoes. But,
nice.
So yeah, I'm sourcing. I'm trying to get better at not picking up everything that's new with tags. It's hard because I know that these things are going to go. I don't know where they're going to go. The whole time I'm there, I hear that crusher thing in the back. And they put out new bins, and I swear 30 minutes later they take it away, and I don't, But I am trying to source more quality items. things that in my mind are going to sell for $20 or higher. But if I find something cute and it's new with the tags, I'm going to pick it up even if I can list it for 10. But definitely men's. I have right next to me like 4 men's totes. That's on my agenda for next week because men's items, I never have questions. I never have cases opened. Men's stuff, if it's a 32, it's a 32. You know, it's not like women's clothing. So when I'm at the bins, I'm just picking up any great quality. I do look up a lot of things that it feels quality, and I take a lot of risks because, first of all, the service is terrible in there, so I have to get next to the window, and sometimes I can check comps, and sometimes I
Right.
can't. But if it feels nice, or maybe it's a linen piece, 100% linen, never heard of the brand, it's going to cost me, we have $1.89 per pound, so maybe $2 to try something out. So I'm definitely more willing to gamble with my money at the bins because I'm spending so little. So yeah, I would say if I look at my sales, it's probably split. Actually, let me see. I think Poshmark, specifically Poshmark, I know it will show me, let's see, my percentage of women's to kids, you know. Let's see if I can find it. I would love to sell all of the listings I have available. What is it under? My seller tools, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Let's see. So right now, well, we're only in February. I'm like, oh, 100%. No, let's see. In the last 12 months, 82% of my sales came from offer to likers.
That's, yeah, I find that that's the case for me too. A big
So,
majority.
I don't know how to see it in my women's, let's see, how do I do this? Like, I don't know if you can see my little bar chart.
Yeah.
That's women and that's kids.
So you still sell quite a bit more women's then.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
women's is definitely, that was all time on Poshmark, I guess. I don't think I broke it down by year, but I would say I'm definitely sourcing mostly women's items in the last year or so.
So it sounds like your average cost of goods has really gone down substantially. You're now like around $1.50, $2 for a basic piece.
Yeah, and actually I'm not organized in most of my life, but when it comes to my business, my husband keeps me quite organized. I have a spreadsheet, and so I can look on it. Let's see. Oops. And okay, this doesn't count anything in my death pile, because I was not good about putting stuff in. But I have on here somewhere. Let's see. So for the month of January, my average cost of goods was $6.58 for what I sold. I know I have it somewhere for my entire inventory spreadsheet. Right now I have about $4,000 worth of inventory, and that is split between 986 items. So
now that's still from the sourcing strategy you had from last year too, because this is just the first month of the year. So that's based on last year's COGS. Yeah.
Yeah. My inventory, I do a rolling inventory, so that it's anything I have in inventory right now.
Yeah. So
yeah, but
you obviously sell in Poshmark. You sell on Mercari too, right?
Yeah, I actually do pretty. I know a lot of people hate on Mercari, but just when you think it's, man, I go from having nothing, like I have nothing in progress, to 10 things.
The same with me. I've thought about ditching it so many times. My husband's like, you should just give up. But then just about with the time I think I'm not going to list on there, I'll get 3 or 4 sales within a day or two, and they're good sales. And it's the lowest fees platform, and I'll make like $60-$80 on a few sales, and I'm like, I'm not ditching this. That adds up quickly. So
they're all full price for me. I don't send offers. I've tried so many times to drop prices, send offers. It never works. I never make any sales that way. So Mercari for me is a set it and forget it.
Exactly. Yes.
But I will say last year I took the time when they implemented that $7.99 UPS Smart Post. I was only doing the priority shipping, so I did, and that was like $16 for your 3 and 4 pounds. So I did take the time to go in and edit my shipping cost, but the UPS store isn't that far away. So yeah, I mean for the 4 pounds, $8 shipping for 4 pounds is pretty good. So
yeah. So there's kind of controversy around cross listing, and this is the one thing that I have struggled with in the last year is, should I just focus on one platform, or should I put my eggs in different baskets and cross list? And people have different arguments for both. Because when you post on just one platform, people feel you can list more and you're selling more, especially if you have a base cost of goods, which I have gotten to the point this last year where I now have a base cost of goods. My cost of goods isn't all over the place now. I have really slimmed down the past 6 months. I've got a group I'm following, and I have a baseline cost of goods, which I'm sure you would recommend to anybody. Know what your baseline cost of goods is. So if you know that and you're listing more and more items, you're selling more and more items. But then there's the other argument, on eBay, which is typically eBay is the platform, you have so many people on eBay, but there's a lot of good people on Poshmark too, and Mercari. What's your argument? Do you say cross-post or stay on one platform? What's your thinking? You know where I'm coming from? I'd love to know your view on that.
So Poshmark is where I would say most of my sales happen. In the month of January, I had 4 no sale days on Poshmark. And if I was putting all of my eggs in that basket, that would not have been so great. And December, Poshmark was not good to me in December. So I am definitely of a cross list your crap. Even, like, I use List Perfectly, but I don't take the time to put it all into their database. And so I manually have to delete when things sell, which of course I've had things, oh crap, I sold that 5 years ago, whatever. I'm 100%. Every morning I get up and I cross list 5 items. So for me, I list everything on Kitizen first because while I love Kitizen, it has its flaws. One of them being when you cross list from somewhere else to Kitizen, I get errors often. You have to only do free shipping, and if you want to charge shipping, which I do, you have to manually go into the app and change it.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
That was frustrating for me.
Yeah. So for me, I list, of course, except for men's and the occasional housewares. I don't do a lot of that, but I do list everything on Kitizen first. So like this last week, we have an event on Kitizen, so I've been really pounding out the kids' items. So I got like 5 days ahead, which is great. So this morning I did my 5. Now I will tell you, I'm not crossing everything to eBay because eBay and me are still like, we're just dating. We're not, we're seeing other people. We're not like boyfriend, girlfriend even yet. It's casual. And so if it's not a $20 or more item, and if it's not in excellent or new with tags condition, I don't put it on eBay. That's just me. I get anxiety thinking about getting negative feedback, and I just don't want to deal with like all the extra questions or any of those things. So, but everything else, 100% of my items are on Poshmark, Mercari, and Kitizen. All of them, no matter if it's a $5 item or whatever. So yeah, I think you are missing the mark if you're not cross-listing because, like, Kitizen, I might go a week without a sale, where back in 2018, 2019, even 2020, I was having at least one sale a day, often a lot more than that. But now it's kind of slowed down for sure. So it's very rare I have a day that I don't have a few packages going out. And they're like this morning, I had 2 Poshmark, 1 eBay, 1 Mercari, and 3 Kitizen go out this morning. The 3 Kitizen, like I said, is kind of rare but we have an event going on. So yeah. If I only was doing Poshmark, would I have 2 or 3 go out total? And one of them was like $6 sale. So,
yeah. I know. This is one of the things I love eBay. I started out on Poshmark when I was actually reselling before I was doing this, but this isn't about my story. So I want to stay. My brain goes different places. I try to stay focused. Between Poshmark and eBay, I love both platforms. But when we're talking about the comparisons of both, Poshmark is definitely the easiest as far as selling. But I find that eBay is more popular sometimes because the type of items that you can sell on eBay. But after being in this group that I'm in, I'm definitely noticing that eBay is really good at selling, but its popularity has changed as far as the type of items that sell well, I'm finding. And so my thing is figuring out what sells the best on each platform. I still put everything on both platforms, but you definitely find that items, well, actually it kind of depends. And the biggest things too on eBay right now is people are doing promoted listings on eBay. And I'm finding that if you do promoted listings, the group that I'm a part of, when promoted listings first came out, it was a small amount. It was like 3%. And now it's up to 12% is the average. It has gone through the roof. And the group that I follow, the guy has been reselling on eBay for like over 15 years. He's like the highest reseller on eBay. This is the group I'm part of. He said, guys, if you keep doing promoted listings, it's going to go through 20%, 25%. And you're going to have to be paying that out. Now, since we're talking about promoted listings, Poshmark has started new promoted listings. Have you tried it, and tell me your thoughts on it?
So first, I'll say when I started cross-listing back to eBay back in like November is when I really like. I only have, to put in perspective, I have about 900 items on Poshmark, Mercari, Citizen. I have 200 on eBay. So I haven't cross-listed that much. I was doing 2% promoted listings just based on other YouTubers I watch, and I've stopped promoting at all, and I'm making sales on non-promoted items. So
On eBay?
anyway, yeah.
Okay.
And the other thing I'll say is when it comes to eBay, I had 10 sales in January on eBay, which that's not a lot for the average person, but for me, just getting back into it, that was a lot. 5 of them were international. So I think that eBay definitely, you can't sell internationally anywhere else. So I found that really interesting that 5 of my random items went to Europe. But Poshmark, okay, so I got picked to do their beta.
Yeah, I did the,
promoted
yeah.
listing. Okay, whatever that was. My sales went in the toilet. It was the
Oh my
worst.
gosh.
Like I was doing great. I mean, I was pumping out like maybe 5 to 10 sales every day on Poshmark, and then I'm like, oh, cool, I'm gonna like double that. No, my sales basically came to a halt, and according to their analytics, which I find it funny that after the promo you can't get back in there, so I had screenshot a few of it. They claimed that 100% of my sales during these 7 days came from promoted listings. I don't know. I just thought the whole thing was sketchy and scammy. Like, you're telling me as someone that was making sales every single day without paying, now I made like a fourth of the amount of sales that week as I was making, and it's all because of the work they did. I don't know. They all of a sudden they keep sending me emails asking me to try it again to pay. No way, never. I mean, I don't know if my sales aren't as good as they once were. Maybe it's because I'm not using that function, but we already give them 20% of our fees. Plus, most of us, I would say, are using things like Posher VA. They're getting an extra $2 in shipping that they're not paying. I just think it's a little much for them to be wanting even more money.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
yeah.
And I think that was
know,
kind of the consensus on Instagram when it kind of first came out. Somebody posted about doing the promoted, and a lot of people came in. There was a handful of people said that they thought it was a benefit, but the majority of people were saying that they just didn't notice a difference. Poshmark was saying that there was a difference, like you were just saying. They told me that I had a difference too, but the items that I sold, I know how they sold. So the stats that they were giving me weren't comparable to what I know how I sold the items. So it was like, okay, this isn't in compliance with how I actually sold the item. And yeah, the fees are just on top of everything else. I think the majority of the people have chosen not to go back into it. Now they keep putting that thing on the banner. Try out promoted listings, I think they're frustrated that it didn't go as well as they'd hoped it would. But I'm finding that doing lives has boosted for me because I do shared live shows, and I'm finding that I've been boosting sales just doing lives because it's kicking the algorithm. So that's been really nice for me. But yeah, so I'm kind of it's been kind of interesting to see how many more people have been talking about promoted listings, and it's just not jamming with them. I have a feeling that eBay is going to end up turning out that way eventually because people are going to just start realizing they're going to keep paying more and more and more, and it's just not, I'm not doing promoted anymore either. I was at first, but yeah, if it sells, it sells. So, okay, so let's switch to some other questions for you. Do you have any thoughts outside of the questions that I'm bringing up? Do you have any thoughts that you would like to share? We already talked about your cost of
I will
goods.
say, someone did just ask me the other day, you kind of touched on this, what if you live in a rural area? Like, I know I talked a lot of smack about ThreadUp earlier, but I did still tell someone just the other day, their bulk boxes, like the 200-pound boxes, if you have no bins, no other way to get inventory, even with that $10, if you're, I have gotten the 200 pounds probably 10 times at this point, and if you're counting out per piece, your average cost of goods is going to be like $1.35. Now that and I would say the mass majority of it you could list. You might not think it's something fabulous to list, but I do still think that is a viable option for people that don't have thrift stores. Even I would even pay the shipping, but they've been running a lot of sales that either free shipping or 20 or 30% off. So I'm definitely not hating on ThreadUp forever. Like we did not break up, not at all. But so I do still think that's an
Yeah.
option.
No, I mean, I'm just sitting there thinking, I remember you mentioned that, and you even mentioned that to me when we were talking about you sourcing for me. You mentioned doing those boxes. And I will say this, if you don't have access to, like myself, to, stores that are close or quality stores that are close, a lot of the items that you get in those boxes are mall brands. And even though they're not going to sell for a lot, because your cog is so low in those boxes, if you're willing to do $12, $15 sales and it's not like your main income, your cog is still only maybe $1, $1.50. You're still making good profit. And if this is literally just a part-time gig to bring in a few extra $100 to maybe buy groceries or something or whatever, that is still a pretty good side income with those boxes. Even selling something at $12 or $15, you're still making a really decent profit on mall brands in those boxes.
Yeah.
Or maybe even somebody starting out reselling and they're just trying to figure out their jam and trying to figure out their niche and where they're going with things. And they don't really have stuff in their closet that they want to sell. That is a good option for them to go about. I don't know that I'd recommend, would you recommend the 4 boxes or starting out with smaller boxes?
My personal experience, and it could be just a total luck thing, but I feel that your chances of getting, of course, it's by sheer amount. I watch a lot of unboxings, and I wasted a lot of time the last 2 years watching unnecessary unboxings on ThreadUp. And the 50-pound unboxings are never as good as the 100 pounds, and the 100 pounds, they never get as good as stuff as the people with the 200 pounds. So I don't know, like I said, is it just sheer luck? I mean, if you watch my 400-pound series, I did one box at a time. One box was a total dud. The other box was literally all new with tags. So it's just such a gamble, and the price goes down so drastically the more you buy.
Yeah.
I personally will never buy a 50 or 100-pound box. I would hold out for the 200 pound. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I know I've only done one of the 200-pound boxes, and my cost of goods was $1.05. So
yeah,
very similar to the bins. So again, if that is your only option or you want to test it out when you're just starting out, I mean, $1 for, mall brands that are still in pretty... Now, keep in mind, guys, if you're watching this and you do this, you're going to have stuff that you're going to have to flush. You're
yeah,
going to have damages. You're going to have tears and rips and stains. You are going to have to sort through that and figure out what your car's going to be after that if you want to do that. But not everybody, when they resell, this is like their main source of income. A lot of people resell part-time. Maybe it's on the side of a full-time job or a part-time job. Maybe it's a mom staying home and just wanting to bring in a little extra money on top of what her husband does. There's a lot of different scenarios of people reselling. Now, you are a part-time reseller, right? Or do you consider yourself full-time?
I consider myself at this moment in my life, like, is there a spot in the middle? Like, I don't rely on reseller income to pay my bills because I do have other streams of income. My husband works. I have a from-home business I've had for 10 years that I am making residual income on. But if I'm looking at my hours worked and like what I do every day, I get up in the morning, I have my coffee, I do my shipping, I do my cross-listing. I would say a real part-time person might not be doing those things every single day. But I'm not working on the weekends, and I know, like, I have friends that full-time resell. The weekends are prime sourcing time, right? So I would say I'm kind of somewhere in the middle, but that's just I've always been a go big or go home kind of girl. I don't know what you would consider full-time income, but my personal goal is to average between $3,000 and $4,000 a month in sales. And I hit that most months before the last 3 months when I kind of like took a break starting with Halloween of last year. But so that is kind of full-time income for some people. But, right now my kids, I have 2 kids in braces out of my 3, and that is more than my car payment. So, yeah, like the other day I cashed out my Poshmark money and I'm like, oh, that will pay for braces this month. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think this season of life, it's a little more full time in a sense of I just need to make more money. My dance, I mean, we had to just pay for costumes, and my girls are in 6 dances. And if you're a dance mom, that's a lot, a lot. And my gosh, just the cost of groceries. Anyway, I could go on a whole tangent of that. So I
Yeah.
would say I'm in between. But if I throw in YouTube, I do make a tiny amount of money from YouTube, so that is another source of income for me, and it's all reselling related. So it does keep me okay. If I want to have content, I kind of have to do some reselling work, so it does
Yeah.
keep me going.
Now,
So,
what
what's
is...
your thing? Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. What does Michael do? Because I know he doesn't resell with you, but he helps you. Now, what does he do for a living?
So we are both kind of jack of all trades. So I was a deputy sheriff, a police officer here in Orange
Oh,
County, and
wow.
Michael was a firefighter. So very cliche. That's what we did before kids, and he continued on with that for a little while. We got involved in a from home network marketing type business that we did really well at, and so he was able to come home full time when my 8-year-old, almost 9-year-old, right when she was born. So his plan was always to he helped me with the from home business, the taxes, the boring stuff, the paperwork, all of that, and so that was our only source of income for almost a decade. Then after COVID, everything kind of changed. He had always planned to go back to work. He is the Pinterest king, handyman extraordinaire. Right now, he's flipping a bathroom for someone. So he is basically like general contractor, one-man show. Do you want a shiplap wall? Maybe you want to redo your bathroom, redo your floors. Like he loves hands-on construction type things. So he just redid my front porch for me. So that's what he does. He kind of it's right now it's kind of word of mouth. Like people come like, oh, I want a wall like that. So he's kind of doing that. He also works like I'm also a substitute teacher, but I only do that maybe once a week, once every other week, only at my kids' school, even though I could do anywhere because then hey, I'm already taking them to school and picking them up. So that's
Right.
one thing. So
Right.
he also has an in with a contractor where he'll, hey, I need a hand this week on XYZ job. So we both kind of have learned after being in a job where we weren't really paid what we were worth, we kind of have our hands in a lot of things. So, and I think that in this day and age, you kind of need that because you never know when something like 2020 is going to happen, or
Yeah.
so we try to keep our income coming in from lots of different places. Like if I closed up my reselling shop tomorrow, would I be okay, kind of thing. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, no, my husband and I are the same way. We're very much entrepreneurial. We actually used to run a shipping company in Washington before we moved out here, and he did that full time. But we've also done real estate investments, which we're actually going to be jumping back into. But we've done a lot of different things ourselves. We're very entrepreneurial minded. Taught our kids to be the same way. A
Oh yeah.
couple of our kids are starting to want to go that direction, which I love because that's what America was based on, is entrepreneurship and running land and farming and, the basics. So um, let's jump back into a question that I have. Do you have a certain selling strategy? This is one thing I like to ask people because everybody has a different business model. Everybody has a different business card that works for them. But once your item is listed, do you have a certain way that you strategize? You have stuff come in. Some people are long-term holders, some people are short-term holders. Are you short-term, and when it's listed, do you have things go on sale at a certain time? Do you do discounts? What is your, once you've listed, what is your strategy to get it in and out the door?
So for me, I'm one of those people, if I have taken the time to photograph it, inventory it, I store my stuff in banker's boxes. I have when we added on to this house, I specifically built a reseller closet where I have all my inventory. If I have taken the time to do that, I do not plan on taking it out of my inventory until it sells. So I know some people only keep stuff around for so long, then they pull stuff out for buy, sell, trade. To me, that's so much extra work because now I have to delete it from my spreadsheet, take it out of the class, So for me, once it's listed forever. I do use Quattro VA, and I have it relist and delist every 60 days. And I feel I make a lot of sales that way. What I've recently started doing, I never used to do price drops or anything. I will on Sundays send out 40% offers or even 50% offers to kind of clear out the old stuff. But what's been working for me this last maybe 2 weeks is today I will go into and drop my listing prices. I don't wait for closet clear out or any of that, but I sort it by my oldest listing and I'll drop prices of the items I know are going to relist tomorrow. So now the prices are dropped and it gets relisted. I'm talking mostly Poshmark because that's where most of my sales come from. But let's see. Just this morning, let me see what went out. because I have a weird memory. Like I know like how long I've had crap sitting around, and I do date things in my spreadsheet. Okay, the three items that went out this morning on Poshmark, I have had listed for over a year, and two of them were newly relisted this week. So,
Nice.
and they sold for the prices I had them listed with 20% off. So
Yeah,
I
I
just think,
think a lot of people talk, not a lot of people take delisting and relisting seriously. I use Vendu myself because it just works really well for me. I tried a couple of different things and that's just worked best for me. And I think delisting and relisting on a daily basis is so, so important for the business.
yep.
And not everybody takes that very seriously. And then, I mean, I think that definitely listing on a daily basis is important. Um, I think if you don't want to work on the weekends, Poshmark works well if you only want to list 5 days a week. But I think, would you agree that listing consistently, consistent number of items is important? I know for me, I list at least 5 items a day.
That my goal right now is five a day. But I know there's going to be times where I can only get one up. So at the very least, when I'm laying in bed at night, I'm like, Amanda, you have to get one listing up. You have to get one listing up. And even sometimes, like on Citizen, I won't. Maybe I don't have any pictures in my phone. I try to make sure I always have things that need to be listed in my phone. I will go in, even if I'm laying in bed, and scroll way back and just screenshot my photos. I mean, the quality, obviously is diminished, but just to get that one listing up. So I think out of all of the reseller tasks, listing at least one item a day needs to be priority for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. I know on eBay you have to list 7 days a week. That's just the way
Yeah.
eBay works. But eBay, you can schedule it. You can also I don't know if people know you can schedule on Poshmark.
Yeah,
I
and
know
do
people
drafts
knew
and all
that.
of that.
It's super
Yeah.
easy to schedule on Poshmark. I've actually been doing that with some of my items. Um, but there are things that, like, if you want to do a SKU in the SKU box, you have to go through and redo that. But so so you try to list daily. You don't list on the weekends. Do you have like a minimum price bracket that you're willing to sell something at? Are you like trying to double your money, triple your money? What's your business model?
So for kids stuff, I just kind of know, like little kids' native shoes. I just know that they're gonna sell for $20 to $25 plus shipping. So a lot of like for the kids category, the items that I pick up, I just know what they're gonna sell for, so I don't really have to check comps. But women's items, you have to check comps, right? Like Beta brand pants a year ago were selling for $50.
Oh
Now
my
you can't hardly
goodness.
give them away. So you always have to be checking. But for me, it's just an item by item thing. I do not care if something right now for my death pile series, for example, um, I don't know what I'm pulling out next that's going to get listed. It might be a $15 item. It might be a $50 item. I don't really have a percentage that I need to make. I do have a pricing strategy though. On Poshmark, I tend to list all of my items I list out a lot of items at $32 because I'm going to make 25 when I send out 20%. So I list a lot of items at 20, 25, 28, 32, 45. So I just kind of, that's the way my brain works. And if I list an item for $20 on Kitizen, I'm going to list it for 22 on Mercari and 25 on Poshmark. That's just what I do because Kitizen, I'm always going to list it for a little bit cheaper because they don't take as many fees and I don't make as many sales there. And I don't know, a lot of people shopping on Kitizen are moms and I'd rather
Yeah.
whatever. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I guess I do have a little bit of a strategy in that sense, but like per item, no, I'm not analyzing. Okay, I spent $17 on this, so I need to sell it for. That's why I'm trying to eventually have most of my items come from the bins. Where if you send me a 50% off offer, I'm gonna be really salty about it. But let's be honest, if I only have $2 in, and you're sending me a $40, you know what I mean? I'm probably gonna take it. So
Yeah.
whereas
Yeah.
a year ago when my cost of goods were higher, I had to keep that in mind. So I'm to the point now where 90% of the time I accept every offer that's sent to me just because I'm trying to I'm trying to detach the emotion from my items. I have struggled with that over the last few years. Like maybe it was a Lily Pulitzer dress that my little girl wore or, I have a
Yeah.
photo of it, and I'm trying to literally just look at the bottom line. I want to bring in $500 this week, Monday through Friday, take the freaking offer. So that's kind of where I'm at in my
Yeah,
business.
I was going to ask you what you do with offers. I have noticed on Instagram, there's been a lot of drama about offers and lowball offers, and I've shared in my lives and just on my channel. People have just been so dramatic about it. Me personally, if you're at least doubling your money on your item and you want to get it out the door, because some people are just so freaking out about that. Tell me what your thoughts are on lowball offers. Do you counter? Do you
I
always
do
counter or do
counter
you just
sometimes.
decline?
Okay, so if I have an item, it's a case by case scenario. I am very much a type A personality. I say it like it is. I probably should shut my mouth sometimes. But so if let's say I have an item listed for $50 and I get a $10 offer, I'm probably going to decline and I'm probably going to block you. If you decline an offer I send you on Poshmark, you're automatically blocked. That's just how I work because I don't want to keep sending you as I send my lower offers. No, so I just block and move on. Some people don't agree with that. That's just how I do. Um, and but let's say you send me a $25 offer. Okay, that's 50%. I know in my head every other Sunday I'm probably going to send out 50% offers. How much do I have into this item? And right now, when I'm trying to just move items, I'm gonna click the accept button, but I'm gonna be annoyed for like 2.7 minutes, and I'm gonna send it out the door. So that's just is what it is. And I probably have a lot of my things overpriced, but I don't recheck comps every time they get relisted. So I'm sure I have stuff that's not it's not worth what I think it's worth. It's worth what someone's willing to pay. And bottom line, am I going to make posts or stories? No offense to anybody that does on my Instagram. Look at this lowball offer. No, it's just part of the reselling game. You can't take it personal. Maybe that's all the money they have in their account. It just is what it is. You
Yeah.
can take it, don't take it, but like, don't take it so personal. Like, it's just stuff.
Yeah.
In the end,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. There's been so much drama about it on Instagram. It's kind of annoying. It's like
it,
you know that being a reseller, lowball offers is part of the game. It just is. It's just like being scammed is part of the game. And I always just say, if you're gonna counter, then counter. If you're gonna, block, then block. Whatever you do, but don't make it a big production. There are other sellers out there. It's the same thing with returns. We were talking about that on live sales the other day as returns. When you have a return or an issue with Poshmark, um, uh, do you just let Poshmark handle it unless, let me, like, if it's in your favor? No, that's a big question too. How do you handle returns? If you know legitimately you are not at fault, but they're accusing you, how do you handle returns?
So this is one of those things where I should just keep my mouth shut, but I always have something to say if a case gets open. I will say when did I join Poshmark? 2017 probably. I have maybe had 10 cases open and I've never lost a case on Poshmark. So I always have something to say. I always will screenshot pictures, this and that. So sometimes I'm a little snarky or rude, but it's just who I am and I can't help it. And I'm a type and push send and I never reread what I say. But no, has there been a time though that I maybe once I can recall on Poshmark I totally missed something and I sell stuff from the bins or whatever. Sure, I might have missed something. I have taken I maybe twice total ever on Poshmark. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And in fact, I've even told people to keep it a refund. Poshmark, please refund them, and it still takes them 3 days, even though I say yes, my bad. eBay's, I do not accept returns. I'm not a huge eBay volume seller. Let it sell, let it not sell. I don't accept them. That's just that. Mercari, I've only had 2 or 3 times where I will say buyer or seller beware on Mercari because Poshmark, I feel, always has sellers' backs. That's just my personal opinion, even though I feel like half the time, even if they deny the case, they still refund the person, which that makes me angry. But Mercari is a buyer. They always have the buyer's back every time. I had a case open once where I was selling a pair of little girls' Crocs. They were listed as a size 1. They were a size 1. I showed the picture, the close-up of the size 1. She opened the case and said that they weren't a size 1. And Mercari approved her return, but she never sent them back, so I still got my money. But yeah, so I take a million pictures. That's my biggest tip. Is take more pictures than you think you need. I take a ton of pictures. I
Yeah.
do take a picture. I don't type out measurements, but I take a picture of the measurements.
Yeah,
I
I do
even
photographs of my measurements too. Because I used to put measurements, just the measurements in the description. And then people would actually message me and say, could you please show me the actual measurement in a photo? So I'm
I
like,
still
okay,
have
if you're
people
going to do
ask.
that, I'm just going to take a measure and put it in the picture, same measurements in
Yeah.
picture. And then if they still ask me back, which still happens, folks, it's still going to happen, could you please tell me the measurement? And I just politely answer back, please look in photos.
No,
It
I said,
still
"Please
asks
take
you what the
photos for me."
measurement is.
But I mean, honestly, it's an extra 2 photos that I take, and I went
Yeah.
from having people ask all the time. Because see, with kids' clothes, that wasn't really a thing. But
Yeah.
women's clothing, I'm like, what do you mean you need a
Yeah.
measurement? Because I wasn't buying designer clothes for
Yeah.
myself. I knew I was a size medium at Old Navy, you know. So yeah, take
Yeah.
the extra few photos.
And you'll notice that if you sell men's, for me, women are more particular about the sizing. Every once in a while, I might have somebody ask me about a men's piece, but very rarely. It's always women's clothes on the sizing. It's always
Yeah.
women's clothes. So, okay, so talking about brands, we were just talking about how, uh, there are certain brands that you sell even well 4 or 5 months ago.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Hold
you're
on.
good.
I lost my Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
I need to grab my charger. So
Oh,
you're
no.
brands. I'm sorry. Can you repeat the
So,
question?
yeah, no, there are certain brands that used to even sell well 4 or 6 months ago. Like we've all been talking about Madewell
Oh yeah.
and Joe's Jeans. Free People still sells, but not for the price it used to sell at. What brands or have done that for you? Because I know you sell some different brands than some other people. What have you noticed for yourself, even the last 4 to 6 months, brands that just aren't selling well anymore?
So I think well, I mentioned one Beta brand. Sorry, the lighting has definitely changed on you because I
You're
had a
good.
new
No,
one.
you're good.
It's an old computer. Beta brand for sure. Thankfully, I love them for myself. So now when I find them, I buy them for me. They're like my favorite pants to wear. Um, but even some of the kids brands like Mini Melissa, how I got back into reselling. If you don't know, look them up. They're the most adorable little shoes. You could sell them for $30 to $45 all day and fast. Now you're gonna get 20 to 25 maybe. But the kids brands I sell, they hold their value. I mean, Minnie Bowden, Hannah Anderson, they're gonna hold their value, and there are loyal people that's all they want to dress their kids in. But I don't. I think particular styles versus brands like Madewell high rise skinny jeans. You know, those were all the rage 2 years ago, and you could get $35, $45.
Yeah.
I can't give them away. I think I have a pair listed right now, and they're like a good size for $19, and nobody wants them.
Yeah, I have a few Maybells listed and they just aren't moving. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but will I still pick up Madewell? 100%.
Yeah. Well, especially for getting with the bins. Now, do you have,
Yeah.
mall brands were kind of going out, but I'm finding that some mall brands are starting to come back. Like even Old Navy,
Oh yeah.
if it has good factors to it, Old Navy is selling again. I've actually been selling Michael Kors. I've got a gal who sources for me at the bins. I've been selling Michael Kors pieces. I couldn't sell Michael Kors for the life of me a year ago. J. Crew is selling again. So what kind of mall brands are coming back for you?
I sell a lot of J. Crew, even factory pieces, and that's one of the brands that come a lot in those thread up boxes. And
Yes.
I was kind of sending most of them to buy sell trade until I started to look them up, and I'm like, oh wait, like people want this brand because it's so expensive. I didn't realize how expensive mall brands are until I was getting these Gap partner kits, and buying my children clothes from Gap. I was ordering 10 to 15 pieces of little kids' clothes. And remember, again, we're not buying sweaters and jackets. We're buying bathing suits, tank tops, T-shirts, 15 items. We're talking $300 or $400 retail price.
Yeah, that's
It's
insane. Gap is
insane. Yeah.
expensive. Oh my
So,
goodness.
yeah. So I have been women's Gap items. I have been looking up just to see. But I'm trying to pick up more of like the tried and true items. Like I'm always going to pick up Lily Pulitzer, even if it's 15 years old. Yeah. So I think that where you live definitely plays a part also in what you're going to source and what you like to sell. I'm selling like the Southern brands, things that you're not going to find. Like you probably don't go into your buy sell trade store and have a whole row of Lily Pulitzer,
Yeah.
like I have here.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and I certainly don't have those out here. You might see those in buy-sell trade, but out here they jack the prices up in buy-sell trades. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm finding it's interesting since we're talking about mall brands, because there's been such an issue with online sourcing of expensive brands like Everlane and some of these nicer brands, Ted Baker, that Boutique by the Box and Helpsy Source sells through their boxes, but the prices are so high. I'm curious to see in the next 6 months to a year to see if mall brands are going to start to become more popular because the cog is so much cheaper, and you can still sell it for $15 or $20. I'm kind of wondering if there's going to be a little bit of a shift.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm hoping that there more companies will pop up. I feel like ThreadUp is kind of people are fed up with it as far as sending items in. There's got to be. So I used to source a lot. I didn't talk about it a lot. I did in the very beginning, but I used to get so much of my inventory from a website called swap.com. It still exists, but it was bought by other people, and it's not at all what it used to be. I would get
Huh, I
stuff
never heard of them.
super cheap, but now it's weird. I don't know what happened with it, but you could send items in, same thing, and it was like a consignment deal, kind of like ThreadUp. But I would buy my kids like their whole wardrobes came from there. But so I'm hoping that maybe some new things will pop up because other than buy sell trade stores locally. So I'm always hunting Google for. I have come across random mom and pop places. Like I actually source. I'm not a gatekeeper or whatever. If I find something good, I tell people. But there's a website there's a small buy sell trade store called Mommy and Me, and it's like in Seattle, Washington, literally as far away from me as it could be. But they put their items online,
Yeah.
and I have purchased from them, and so they have increased. It used to be you only had to spend $25 for free shipping. I think now it's $50. I don't know, but there are other options if you're looking. If you take the time to Google and look, so I'm just hoping that there'll be more options to purchase inventory online and to send these small brands in so that we can acquire them, because so much is just, if you take your stuff and we tend to donate our items to local nonprofits versus Goodwill because the sheer amount that I see in the Orlando bins alone that is just being destroyed, I mean, it's crazy. It's all crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. It really is. Okay, so I have two questions left for you before we've already gone over a little bit.
Sorry, I talked too much.
No. It's been, I love these interviews because everybody's business is so different. And I actually had a couple of people ask me in comments in my YouTube video, can you have Amanda come on? So that's one of the reasons why you're here. So, and I was going to reach out to you anyway, but one thing, now you've been reselling for a while. What is the one thing that somebody told you in your reselling business that just made a huge difference for you?
To take the emotion out of it. I don't remember who it was, or I heard someone say it or read it, but that was like a key moment for me because, I would have, like I said, an item listed, and I knew good and well that I had it priced too high, but it was sentimental, or I thought it was super cute, or I don't know, but I had to start looking at it as it's just a business. It's a business. It's just another item, so to me, that was a big one, especially if you are someone like me that is like a hoarder of your kids' clothes. I mean, I'm trying to get better, but, they each have a bin, and I've kept my favorite little pieces because one day they're going to have their kids wear it. No, they're probably going to get rid of all of it when they're 18. But taking emotions out of it, and that even, like, I would say 2 years ago, I would have never sent a counter offer, which you asked me that, which I do counter. If I get a $10 offer on a $50 item, I might counter them at 25, and after that they get blocked. But I would say be more open to just taking total emotion out, and I think that applies to more people with my personality. That I get offended easily. Maybe that's not a good way to explain it, but anyway.
Well, no, and it's a really good point because reselling has changed a lot in the last year. Reselling changed a lot when shutdowns happened, but reselling's changed a lot in the last year because the economy has changed things because of the shutdown. And we're going to continue to see changes coming down in the next year or two in reselling. But the other factor in reselling that's changed a lot this year is not just the economy, but the prices of sourcing has seriously affected a lot of resellers. So we'll see what happens this next year. Lives change things a little bit. I don't think for the negative. I think lives change things for a lot of people for the positive. And I think I've shared with a lot of people my opinion about lives. If it works for you, I mentioned this in a video. We shouldn't be ragging on resellers. Everybody has a different business model. If lives work for you, go for it. If reselling on Poshmark works for you, go for it. If eBay works for you, go for it. Whatever works, if it makes money for your family, that's what you should do. So I don't rag on lives. I don't rag on eBay. I don't rag on Poshmark, Mercari. If it works for you, I say go for it. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, the economy's changed a lot of things for a lot of people. So it'll be interesting to see what this next year brings. Speaking of which, What is your goal in this next year in reselling business?
My goal is to not have so big of a death pile, and I'm working on it slowly but surely. I'm actually getting ready to film my next my what sold video. That's supposed to come out today that I haven't even filmed yet. But I'm closing the gap on how many days it's taking me to make $500 because I'm listing stuff. And if
Nice.
you have a death pile and you're a reseller, chances are you have good stuff. Like you know what you're picking up. If you picked it up in the first place, maybe the resale value has gone down. I just opened a bin full of Lululemon. Who knows when or where I've had it? You know what I mean? Like it's good stuff. So my goal is to have. I have these like Rubbermaid totes, not like the tiny normal ones, but like medium size. I would like to only have 2 of those full at any given time. I'm not going to say I'm not going to go thrifting till my death pile's done. That's not realistic for me. That will suck the joy right out of reselling. The best part is thrifting. But I'm being more cognizant and I'm rewarding myself. Like I'm not allowed to go thrifting until I hit my next $500 in net sales. So little baby steps like that are going to help me clear out what I have. And I'm not going to, I just had so much. We had a move happen. So a lot of my inventory kind of got shoved, my unlisted inventory. So my goal for this year is to keep my cost of goods as low as possible, keep sourcing at the bins, being consistent with my YouTube channel. Reselling is such a small niche. Yes, there are some resale YouTubers who are doing very well. YouTube is never going to be my main source of income. I started this channel with my from home business. I love to coach and teach, and that's kind of what I did. So my goal is to get my YouTube bringing in a certain dollar amount a month. So that is going to happen by being consistent. I don't really have a particular followers I want or whatever. But my goal is just to stay consistent, get rid of the death pile, and have fun. Because if you're not having fun, like you need to do some changing. Like life is too short to not enjoy what
Yeah.
you're doing.
Yeah. So my last question for you is, what is the one tip you want to share with people?
I would say be open to changing what you're doing. You know, because if
Yes.
especially if maybe you've seen your sales decline or, kids clothes is not for everyone. And I totally get that. But maybe you watched a couple of my videos or whoever else, and there's a few brands, like the brand Mini Bowden, because Bowden for women, the brand Native for kids shoes, or Play, Plae, they will always sell. Maybe you just stroll past the kids' shoes and just give them a once look over. Because maybe you can pick up a pair and they're going to sell the same day. So, or likewise, if you don't ever sell men's items, look at the men's shoes. Maybe something's going to stick out. So just be willing to change things up a little bit, cross list to a different platform, start saying yes on the lowball offers. But I caution you, the lowball offers are always the problem buyers. I will give you that disclaimer. But, give yourself, I am a rewards driven person. So figure out what motivates you. Maybe you get to go to Taco Bell. I'm a Taco Bell lover. If you list 100 items this week, I like setting goals. Little goals is what's going to help you achieve your big goals. So that's my job this week is to get through one tote. I can list one tote of inventory. Maybe there's 20 items in there. Maybe there's 10. I don't know. But little goals are going to help you achieve your big one.
Absolutely. So where can people find you?
So I have my YouTube channel, which is just my name because I'm super creative like that. I do also have an Instagram. It is on public. I don't post a ton in my feed, but it's mostly my personal Instagram. A lot of, I don't know, when I find resellers that I like to watch, I like to see their actual life. I have a dog. I actually have a little Frenchie puppy that people have come to know. I live on a lake, so I have pet geese and ducks. And so if you want to follow my personal journey, I do throw reseller content in there as well over on Instagram. My name there is Pruitt Mama, but you can probably find me just by my name. But yeah, and all my shops are linked in my bio on my videos. But if you're interested in trying out Kitizen, I did take the time to make a how-to post that kind of has gone viral on Kitizen. Anytime people ask for help a newbie, they tag them on this post. It's kind of like, I guess, making a comment on someone's listing on Poshmark. But if you just send me a message on Instagram and tell me your shop name, I can tag you on that. Because
Nice.
every platform has their own little rules and kind of, not rules, but like how to make it work.
Yeah.
So I always try to answer messages. I try to check that junk folder quite often. And I always try to answer every comment on my videos just because
I want to always be someone that people know, hey, she'll answer me. So
Yeah. Yeah. And if things do change for you down the road and you're able to source for me, reach out to me.
yes, listen, when I get all my crap done, like, yes, I want to get to a place where I can go to the bins twice a week. Like, that's my ultimate plan. That's
Yeah.
my 2-year plan. My 1-year plan is little by little. We got some big trips this year and all of that. But my 2-year plan is to go to the bins twice a week and be able to do extra things like that. So
Nice. All right. Well,
yes.
thank you so much. I know you're a super busy mama. You and Michael are just awesome couple, and
Thank you.
I always enjoy watching you guys' videos when I have time. I've been super busy too because I'm between doing lives. My husband's going to school and working full time, and we're also we own an 1897 folk Victorian home, so we're in the process of working on that too, and looking at some changes in the next couple of years. So we're working on that, and we're all busy, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Like
I
I'm
just
turn in my tax paperwork. That's the errand I'm headed on.
I just so appreciate you taking time out of your very, very busy schedule, and it's been a pleasure, such a pleasure talking to you. We'll have to do this again.
Yes.
Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for everything, and I'll send you a link so that you can watch the video and share it out to your folks too.
Okay.
All right, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Okay, you guys, I so hope, especially those of you who requested seeing Amanda Pruitt, I hope you really enjoyed this interview, hearing her story, how she does what she does, and just how she sources and all those great factors to her business. I really hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have somebody you would like me to reach out to do an interview with, please feel free to put it down in the comments, you guys. I've been reaching out to some other people. I've already got another interview recorded, which will be coming out in a couple weeks. Very excited about this one, you guys. That one's an awesome one, too. They've all been super awesome because they're all unique and individual of their own. This has been so fun. So, again, if you have somebody you want me to interview, leave it down in the comments below and tell me, you guys, what you like about these interviews. What have you been enjoying about these interviews? And if there are questions you guys would like me to ask during those interviews, please leave those down in the chat below too. I would be more than happy to ask your questions as well as the ones that I've been asking. So guys, as always, be productive, and we will see you in the next video. Take care, guys.